Hello, my beautiful YouTube people. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the very first video in a series I'm dubbing Reddit Story Sundays. Now, this is going to be a new series I'm starting up on this channel, apart from my Reacts series on here. Every Sunday, I'm going to be putting out a video, me going through different Reddit stories I find. If there's any in particular you guys want me to react to in the future for these videos, let me know down below. This is going to be Am I the Asshole series stories. These are usually the most dramatic and entertaining ones that you find on Reddit. So without further ado, let's get into it. Am I the asshole for fixing my daughter's car when her boyfriend said he'd handle it? Off to a great start. My daughter, 21 female, and I have always been pretty close. She moved in with her boyfriend a couple months ago. It was a little tough seeing her move out, but I know she's an adult building her own life. She drives an old Corolla with a lot of miles on it. A couple weeks ago, she mentions the steering wheel had started shaking when she got up to the highway speeds, and sometimes the front end would shudder when she braked. She told me her boyfriend said he would take care of it. Immediately, that sounds like a brake issue. Rotors, pads, something like that. Another week went by, and it still hadn't been looked at. Last weekend, she came by my place and said it was getting worse and it was starting to make her nervous to drive. I understand how she feels. I used to drive a piece of shit S40 Volvo. It had issues from the get. Something with the transmission wasn't built right in the factory, and it was just screwed from the start. So I took it for a quick drive, and sure enough, the wheel was shaking pretty good, around 60 miles an hour, and it shuddered when I hit the brakes. I pulled the front wheels off in the driveway, and it was pretty obvious the front brake rotors were warped and the brake pads were worn unevenly. I used to work in a mechanic shop in the parts department, so that immediately set it off for me. I've heard issues like that plenty of times. It's a really simple fix. It takes like a little bit if you know what you're doing. I ran to the parts store, grabbed new rotors and pads, and swapped them out that afternoon. Took a couple hours, and after the car drove smooth again, my daughter was really happy and thanked me a bunch. To me, it wasn't a big deal. I've worked on cars most of my life, and she's my kid. Great dad so far. A few days later, she and her boyfriend came over for dinner. At one point, he pulled me aside and told me I shouldn't have fixed the car. He said it was his responsibility as her boyfriend to handle that kind of thing, and that by doing it myself, I stepped on his toes. Immediate red flag. Why are you trying to start a fight with her father for doing something to protect her? When it comes to braking for your car, that's kind of, important to get it fixed if there's an issue with it. So him having a problem with it getting done just because it wasn't him who did it, fragile masculinity maybe. Since then, he's been pretty short with me, and the vibe has been a little weird. My daughter says he feels like I undermined him. From my point of view, she's still my daughter, and if something on her car is unsafe and I can fix it in an afternoon, I'm going to. Dad is in the right 100%. Boyfriend needs to pull his head out of his ass. I don't understand the need to cause problems, especially with your significant other's parents, when all they're doing is just trying to help. Completely unnecessary, not the asshole. I'm even inclined to say she needs to move on from that man. Sounds like he's just going to be a problem down the line. Next up, we have, am I the asshole for ignoring our friend on our trip to Mexico? Last year, around this time, our friends and I planned a trip to Cancun Dream Natura Resort and Spa. We all wanted to drink, eat, dance, and relax on the beach with no kids. I'm the only one without kids, so I was really looking forward to spending time with just my friends to unwind. I feel that. I understand wanting to get away from kids for a little bit. I grew up with a younger sibling, and Even now, she's still a little bit of a pain at times. Every other trip before this was planned with the kids, but this time there would be no early bedtimes, no crying, no screaming, no sand in our drinks because kids think it's funny to throw sand. 1 week before the trip, one of the friends said she's bringing her 10-year-old. This woman can never tell her kid no. Oh god. We had all warned her beforehand that if this happens, we weren't going to change anything. Respectfully. To say I was annoyed was an understatement, lol, but I sucked it up. I still had 2 friends who were going child-free and had no intention of changing any plans. My 2 other friends and I drank, we ate amazing food, we danced all night, and spent the day at the beach. As you should, still your trip, enjoy your time there, The friend with the kid expressed her frustration about the rest of us doing what we wanted, and she couldn't. My response was pretty much, well, that sucks, but we're not going to change the entire point of this trip just because of your inability to tell your kid no. Respect. She decided to change it up on you guys last minute. That's not your fault. That's on her. Everyone already agreed to a set plan for this trip. That's something she has to figure out. We invited her to do what we were doing multiple times, but her response was always, I can't. My kid wants to go. So there was definitely tension between the 3 of us and her the entire trip. When we were making our long way back home, all 3 of us got a really nasty message from her fiance, calling us all bad friends and how dare we not revolve our entire trip around her and their kid, that she had a terrible time and it was our fault. Once again, not their fault. She decided to switch it up on them last minute. These 2 sound like they were made for each other with the inability to take accountability. I was like, pardon? That was pretty much the last straw for me. Now, I never tell my friends how to parent their children, but their daughter is so nasty. She is so spoiled, and like I've stated earlier, has never been told no. So, you can understand how entitled this child is. My other friends are a lot more reasonable when it comes to their children. Their children are polite, have a general understanding about boundaries, and they behave really well for 8 to 10-year-olds. Getting that sort of boundary understanding when they're younger is very important. My text back to him was pretty much, we made these plans a year in advance, expecting us to be fine with the fact that you guys dropped it on us that your child was coming a week before we were leaving, and then expecting us to change everything and cancel our plans because you guys can't tell your kid no. It's not fair to us at all. That is a you problem, not ours. Well said. I'd understand if something came up and she had no choice but to bring her kid. Shit happens, people cancel. But that was not the case. Her fiancé was home the entire time, and her grandmother was looking forward to watching her granddaughter. But her kid freaked out about not being allowed to go on the trip, and they couldn't tell her no. Now, her and her fiancé are super pissed. Were we in the wrong here? Absolutely not. That is entirely on her for not telling you guys prior that she was going to be bringing the kid. It was already planned to not have kids for this trip. It's also just, kids are a whole other responsibility that if you're planning a more independent trip like this for a group of adults, it kind of does put a damper in plans because now you do have to accommodate for what the kid wants to do. Very unfair by the friend, not the asshole. She needs to get better at disciplining her kid. Lastly, we have, am I the asshole for sneaking my mom some alcohol when she is on hospice? Oh boy. My mom is in her 50s and dying from liver cancer. She is terminal and currently undergoing in-home hospice care. My mother has always lived an unhealthy lifestyle. She was an extremely heavy smoker for years and luckily quit between 10 to 15 years ago, and she's very proud of that. Congratulations, by the way. But she's been morbidly obese her whole life. She hasn't treated her type 2 diabetes well enough, and for a few years, she's been drinking 4 to 6 5% alcoholic drinks per day for about 4 to 5 days per week. That's a lot. I would not be able to handle drinking that much, that often. so I can only imagine what that was doing to her. All this compounded, and she ended up with liver cancer. By the time it was caught, it was terminal. When she started feeling sick, which turned out to be the cancer, she stopped drinking except for rare occasions. I visit my mom 2 to 3 times per week. I talk to her, we watch TV, and I'll bring her what she asks for. She recently talked about how she missed her drink of choice. She wanted a couple to have. I got a list of her meds and made sure there was no or minimal interactions, and when she had a really good day with no pain meds, I brought her a 6-pack of her favorite drink. She was really happy and drank 2 and then went to sleep. I told my siblings about this when I updated them a few days later. They got really mad at me because she has liver cancer and her liver isn't right, but I still gave her alcohol. This was weeks ago, and she still has 4 cans of the 6-pack left over, and she hasn't had them. But even if she did, she's going to die. Let her enjoy her time. They think I was harming her and causing her to die faster by giving her the alcoholic drinks. I think I gave her an evening of enjoyment when she doesn't have many left. I've been catching flack from this for weeks, and now it's spreading to other family members. So am I the asshole for giving my mother alcoholic drinks when she is on hospice for liver cancer? Now, this is a tough situation. She's obviously not doing well health-wise. Apologies for what you're going through, by the way. Cancer is a terrible situation regardless of what kind it is. But someone who's in hospice, the diagnosis is terminal. I honestly, in my opinion, say let her have it. Why make her more miserable than she's going to be anyway? Why not let her last bits of time be a bit more enjoyable? Because hospice sucks, right? I've seen what it looks like. It sucks. It's terrible. And it's not something that I would want for any of my family. So I say let it be at least somewhat more enjoyable. And also, they're throwing so much shade on her for this. The mom's only had 2 of the 6 drinks from, a couple weeks prior? So she hasn't even been going crazy on it either. Family needs to chill out. The mom's going through a really tough time. I say make it somewhat less tough. Alright, well, that was Reddit Story Sundays for you guys. Let me know down below if there's any stories you want me to read in the future. If you want to see more Am I the Asshole stories, or any others in particular, let me know. I'll be sure to make a list of them, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.